Across the board.
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 You're listening to Across the Board. Buckle up, because things are about to get interesting.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Fantastic.
A little smoky in here, huh? Probably shouldn't be vaping right now, but so I actually forgot to tell you about something. Somebody rear-ended me today.
Excuse me?
Yeah, but very, very lightly. So it was the funniest thing. I was at
What?
your face right now. So I was at a red light. She didn't rear end me. She rolled into me. So, okay. So I'm at a red light and I'm just stopped. And for whatever reason, I even look in my rearview mirror and I see this girl getting really close to the back of my car. And then I just feel this little like tap, right? And I'm looking in the rearview mirror and her face was just utter shock, but it just stuck like that. Like, you know, when you see these TikTok videos where people are just like stuck, like with this
Right.
face of like, it just for like a good 2 minutes. Anyway, we pulled over. She was cool about it. Like there was a bunch of traffic too. Like we had to fight to pull over. Luckily, she didn't just run off.
Yeah.
Because I had to turn the corner and get off the. I think I was on I was on some street in West LA, and so she pulled in behind me and she got out of the car. She's like, "I'm so sorry. You know, I wasn't paying. I was distracted, whatever." And I looked at my car before she got there. It was like literally nothing. It was 2 tiny little scratches from the screws because she was stopped, and then I guess she was just not paying attention, and she was like eased up on the brake, and she just like rolled into me, like barely moving. So I was like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. You know, just fucking." I'm like, "It's not a big deal." She goes, "Well, what do you want me to do?" I'm like, "Nothing. Just drive safe." Like,
You're a kind person.
well, you know, I figure it's a mitzvah. You know?
You just forgot to mention this tidbit about your day. You literally talked to me about everything.
I know. I completely.
You just forgot.
So to be honest with you, I didn't completely forget. I didn't say anything on purpose.
Why?
Because I knew we were recording today, and I wanted your genuine.
Rude.
I figured the genuine reaction is probably better.
But you sneaky.
See, isn't it better sometimes to get a genuine reaction?
I guess.
Because you can't fake that. Like, I wasn't going to tell you and then retell you and then you're going to act shocked. Like,
That's true.
it was the funniest thing too. Like, she got out of the car and she's like, she walks up to me and I'm laughing still. And I'm like, "I'm sorry. It was just hilarious. I looked in my rearview mirror and you should have seen the look on your face."
Speaking of random things with cars, I don't know if I told you this about my Porto story from last weekend.
Okay. I'm listening.
I was with my dad. I dropped him off at the Burbank Portos,
Okay.
right? And as I'm trying to find parking, and if anyone knows Porto's parking is just absolutely horrendous. There's never any parking. There's just literally a shit show. There's people everywhere. There's lines everywhere. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I'm making a left to one of the streets, and a car was getting ready to leave.
You're making a left.
Yes. And then Porto's is on my... So when I make a left, Porto's is on my right side. So make a left, and then the Porto's is on this side, on the corner, on the right side.
Where were you making a left from?
On Magnolia.
You're making... Oh, wait.
From Hollywood Way.
Oh, gotcha. Onto Magnolia. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm making a left,
Okay.
and there was a parking. You know, there's the like street parking, right?
Yeah.
Right next to Porto's. Mm-hmm. There was a car leaving.
Okay.
And there's an intersection there. So I turn left. I have my light on, and the way this car was parked, you know, it looked like a parking spot. So of course I'm freaking out because there's incoming traffic, and I'm like holding up the line, and I'm just getting more anxiety over it. I can't move forward because there's another car leaving who's taking forever. Mm-hmm. Finally, the car leaves, and now I have to back up into it because there's another car leaving in front of him, and he won't move. And as I'm trying to back up, traffic's still building up, and then a police car stops right behind me. And I'm just like, la, 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 trying to park. Didn't realize there was a police officer behind me. finally parked in this spot. Police officer just, thankfully didn't do anything, just kind of let me go and just went about his day. I get out of the car and I realize it's a red zone and you can't even park there. You couldn't see the sidewalk, like the colors. There were just cars parked all over there.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, okay, this must be a parking spot.
That's happened to me before.
Yeah, and then all these people were staring because,
You fought for a red zone.
I did for no reason whatsoever.
Should happen.
And this is why I hate going to Portos.
I mean, I was just going to say this is why I hate Los Angeles, but that's also...
I don't hate Los Angeles. I love living here.
There's certain things that I could deal without, or I could do without.
Traffic.
Traffic. People.
Yeah.
People, mostly. Speaking of people are losing their fucking minds.
Surprise?
No, it's on a different level this time. Hold on a second. All right, I think that's better. Have you been paying any attention as to what's happening with Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency? Any at all?
No.
Okay.
I like to watch pretty cute little animals
Yeah.
do funny stuff.
No, I like to
online.
watch politics and
I
stuff
know.
like that. Elon Musk, right, has been tasked by the president to look into government spending, find anywhere where there might be some waste, there might be some abuse, there might be some whatever.
Does he have like an actual position?
Yeah.
What is it?
He's I don't know what his actual title is, but yeah, he's appointed by the president to lead up Doge.
Okay.
He's the head of Doge.
What is Doge?
The Department of Government Efficiency.
Okay, and he has experience doing this in the past?
He's done it with businesses. Like, so for example, he went into Twitter. When he bought Twitter, that was the first thing he did is, hey, why do we have all these people standing around not doing anything? Started cleaning it up. Like, why are we spending so much money on X, Y, and Z? So yeah, he has experience doing it for a business. Obviously, nobody has the experience to do it on that scale of government. But that's because it's never been done. And unfortunately, it's something that should be happening regularly. Like, there's nobody that's actually looking at government spending and saying, this is wrong, this is too much, this is out of control, why are we doing this?
I'm confused though. Don't they look at budgets and how much money they have and things like that before they start spending?
No, the government just spends. The government's the government doesn't really have a limit.
What does that even mean?
Well, they don't.
The limit doesn't exist, like Lindsay Lohan said in Mean Girls?
Their limit is what limit they give themselves.
Oh.
But if the government writes a check tomorrow for $3 trillion, it's not going to bounce.
Can I do that?
If you worked at the government, you could.
Maybe. Goals?
Well, not today. It's a bad time to work for the government.
I know.
So yeah, they started basically, they wanted to go department by department, basically.
Just quick question though. Doge, is this a new thing? Because I've never
Yeah.
even
But it's
heard
also
of it prior to
so
this.
the name is based on Dogecoin, the meme
Right.
coin. That's yeah. I think Elon Musk is just. I think it tickles his fancy because he's just that much of a nerd. So like the acronym worked for the Department of Government Efficiency, so he ran with it, which is
Okay.
cool. I mean, I'm a nerd too, so I can appreciate it.
Okay.
And so he goes in and he starts looking at things, and he started with USAID. And I cannot stand when people say USAID, because it's not USAID, it's USAID. USAID implies that it's only created to help people.
Okay.
And it's not. It's for the advancement of international... Was it the Advancement of International Development or something like that? Or Agency for International Development. Basically, it's a short way of saying this is how we throw money at other countries. And really what it is it's not that there's some spending is legitimate. Some of it is like, okay, yeah, we're opening clinics and whatever. And then some of it's just we're pumping money into this country to buy that population, to buy their not loyalty per se, but like we're essentially buying likes for the United States. That's the best way I could put it.
Okay.
Is you are advertising on social media and buying likes for the US. That's what you're doing. But a lot of the, okay, so there's a multifaceted thing. The thing that sucks is that even if it was for clinics in fucking Zimbabwe, I'm sorry, the United States needs the help more than they do at this point. If it's coming from our tax dollars, right? Like the United States should be taking care of American citizens first.
Okay.
We should be taking care of American citizens. We should, for fucking damn sure, be taking care of our veterans because these guys are killing themselves at some insane rate because of mental health issues that they can't get help for.
I agree.
Because the VA
mental
is
health
underfunded.
in this country is pretty big.
This is the biggest issue we have in this country. And, you know, like, especially when you look at certain population groups, like the veterans, there's tons of homeless veterans. There's tons of veterans that aren't getting medical care that they need. They're not getting mental health care that they need. And what's happening to them is they're ending up either on drugs or drinking because that's the way they deal with their
cope.
mental health issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it becomes a snowball effect of they end up on the streets and or killing themselves. And it's fucked up. It's fucked up that we're spending hundreds of millions and billions of dollars in foreign countries for Sesame Street cartoons and soccer fields when we have people literally dying in our streets at home on our front porches.
I don't think there's anything wrong with helping other countries, but like you said, I think help us first, help our
Absolutely.
people first,
Absolutely.
and you know, just try to have a positive outcome on that, and then help other people. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that.
There's never anything wrong with helping people, but the thing is you can't help somebody if you don't help yourself first. Like the analogy I've always used, and you've heard me say this is like a father coming home to his family of 5 and saying, I'm sorry, but we can't eat tonight. We can't afford it. But then turning around and buying a gourmet meal for his neighbor's kids. Like that makes no sense.
Yeah.
You're going to take care of yours first. And then if you have leftovers
And I
or
think-
if you have extra money, then you take care of the neighbors.
Yeah, and
you
I
know?
think people fail to realize that other countries do this. Like they take care of their own first.
Well, and the screwed up part is they do to a certain extent, but then some countries have become so reliant on the United States that now they don't even attempt to take care of their own. Any money that comes into the country, their government pockets.
Yeah.
And then it counts on the United States to open up clinics and, buy condoms.
You can also, just to play devil's advocate here, you have a country that's solely relying on the United States for funds and using those funds to help their people. And then they themselves not doing anything to contribute to that.
Yeah.
Because this is what they've gotten used to.
That's what I'm
This is
saying.
what they're expecting.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like we always say, save up for a rainy day. This is the rainy day.
Well, and
so
that's part of the problem is that none of these countries, although with our help, should have been able to kind of get themselves on their feet. And I'm talking about the smaller countries that are, poor populations. They don't really have much going on. They should be using our help as an opportunity, saying, okay, well, we're getting help. Let's let that take care of the stuff that we can't afford. But in the meantime, let's make sure we're taking care of everything else so that we kind of build ourselves up.
absolutely.
But that's not the case.
Yeah.
Like money goes to certain countries and it just gets pocketed by some freaking dictator. And it's like, why are we even sending this money out there?
I wonder if there's some kind of audit process where, we send money to other countries and
Absolutely
we
not.
audit
Nope.
what they're doing with that money,
Nope.
which should be something that we should be doing anyway.
I think, okay, so here's what I think. And you've probably seen some videos, I don't know if you have, but people are freaking out. Elon Musk has become the Antichrist. People are freaking out about Elon Musk looking into government spending. Now,
Like the general population or?
yeah, everybody.
Okay.
Well, and it's happening because certain Congress people and news stations are telling them that they should be freaking out. And so these people are like, yeah, no, this is not right.
But what is the reasoning as to why they're freaking out?
I don't know. So
That's what I'd want to know.
So here's the thing is they're trying to make this argument that Elon Musk is looking at your social security numbers and he has access to your private information. That is true. But at the same time, so does the IRS.
Yeah.
So does the FBI. So does the whatever agency you want to name. This is just another agency. And then the argument everybody wants to make is, well, nobody elected Elon Musk. Nobody elected the fucking guy that heads up the IRS either. But there he is, you know? I mean, like, it's not elected.
Typically elect.
You don't elect
people,
heads
right? Yeah.
of departments. Exactly. Like, they're appointed.
Appointed, yeah.
So, okay, he was appointed like any other freaking government department.
Do you think people are freaking out because he's looking into this stuff, or because it's him that's looking into this stuff?
No. And that's the funny thing is, like, people have said, like, Elon Musk himself had sent out put a post on X. Can't call it a tweet anymore because it's not Twitter. And he had said something like, if I wanted to come after your money, I had PayPal. Like, he owned PayPal. He had everybody's social security numbers and money.
Right.
Besides that, I don't think the richest man in the world is worried about fucking Jake from State Farm's $600 fucking IRS tax return. You know, like, it doesn't, or tax refund. It doesn't make sense. Like, why would somebody who has that much money, who is in that position, literally became friends with the now president, why would somebody that's in that position be worried over a couple $1,000, whatever? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Just logically speaking. Maybe he is. Maybe he's planning on robbing the country blind, and I don't know where he would go from there, though. It's not like you can hide if you have that much money. But I don't see that being logically, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But then the other thing is I think what this is I think this is a play by Congress, by certain people in Congress. They're trying to rally everybody against this idea of auditing the government spending, probably because either they themselves or people that they have an interest with, either business partners or people that are paying them on the side, are going to get screwed in the process.
That makes sense.
Which is, I think, I mean, it's weird. Like, why are you yelling and screaming about it's not right that Elon Musk is cutting spending? Like, and they're trying to twist it that, like, oh, he's taking milk out of, newborn babies' mouths. And no, he's not. They have not stopped aid to people. Right? Like, they've stopped spending to, like, these weird fucking, like, research groups and shit like that, where they're researching what happens to sharks on cocaine. And, like, this was literally money that was spent by the U.S. government, was to research sharks on cocaine, because the sharks off of the coast in Florida may get into cocaine that's dropped in the ocean by drug traffickers. And we want to study the effects of what happens to these sharks. Well, I can tell you, the sharks probably get really chatty. They're high as fucking shit, and they're aggressive. And that's just a shark. You're not going to get near it either way. So it doesn't matter.
How would they even test for that?
I don't know. The baby sharks with cocaine. It doesn't make any sense, but, like, why would we need to devote taxpayer money to this? It's stupid.
You know what I've always said is we should, as the general public, we should be voting on what we pay taxes for. Like, if you're interested in paying taxes for that specific thing, by all means, go for it.
So I discussed this with a couple of people a few months back. I have an idea.
Okay.
And obviously nobody's the comments are going to be great. You're such an idiot. How would they do that? My idea is you create an app for every taxpayer, right? Every taxpayer gets this app. The internet is secure now. Despite what people say, the internet's secure. If you can get online and create an account with the IRS to pay your taxes or to file your returns, then it's secure enough for this, right? So you create an app, everybody logs in, they prove their identity. The one time, like, when you create your login, you scan your ID, you put in your social, whatever. Like, it's a government app. Once you do that, you are then set up. You can either get notifications or you can open it on the regular and check it out. Anytime a spending bill is about to be introduced, whether it's city, state, or federal. So your city, your state, that would apply to you, obviously. Federal applies to everybody. Before that bill is even read on the floor, before you know who wrote the bill, who introduced the bill, or because usually I say introduced because the funny thing is the people that bring those bills up usually don't write them.
Okay.
Some asshole writes it for them and says, here, this is what we want you to pass. And they bring it up. They introduce it. So my point is for example, fucking Senator asshole from Wisconsin wants to, I picked Wisconsin at random. I don't, maybe he's a nice guy. Wants to bring up a bill to spend $50 million on whatever. I don't know, some shit.
Okay.
Right. Before we know who introduced the bill, before we know what party affiliation he has, before that bill ever gets read, the notification goes out on the app. Everybody logs into the app. They say, we're going to, so basically, hey, there's this bill that's going to be introduced. It's going to spend $50 million on X, Y, and Z. Do you agree with this bill? A vote of yes would increase your taxes by a maximum of 0.02% for this fiscal year, whatever, right? If they get enough votes to secure that $50 million, right? So you're gonna have a minimum and maximum. So you're gonna have a maximum of, let's say 0.02, whatever. You do the calculations. I don't know how it works out.
Okay.
I don't know how many taxpayers are actually paying taxes. So it works out the calculation to where if they can secure that $50 million or whatever the amount is that they want in funding for that bill, then they are allowed to read the bill and vote on it. So they cannot introduce a bill before the money for it is secured. And the people vote as to whether or not they want their tax dollars going to it. Now, obviously, there's a shit ton of bills introduced. So the second, third, fourth time, whatever, no matter how many times you log into the app, it keeps a running total of, hey, you're now paying, just FYI, you're now paying an extra 0.4% this year on your taxes because you voted yes to these bills. And if they can't get the funding for it, if the taxpayers are not into it, then it just dies. That's it. And it just doesn't get read. It doesn't get voted on.
Right. No, that's a good idea.
The only problem I see with this is that a lot of these bills are not single issue bills. That's the problem. So you'd have to also create a law where bills are single issue. So you're not going to take a bill for funding schools and throw in money for Ukraine in it. You'd have to have, hey, this is what the bill does. That's it. There's nothing else. There's no fluff in there.
I don't understand. And I don't think I've ever understood why we get taxed for certain things without voting on them. We vote for office, and we vote for their policies.
But so what the idea is that our representatives that we voted in,
we're entrusting them to make
them to make those decisions.
Yes, but
a lot of times they don't.
But they're here for the people, right? They're supposed to be working.
They're not, though.
But they're supposed to be working for the people.
Yeah.
So give us that voice. Let us be able to choose and vote on what we want to pay taxes on, because we're getting taxed to death right now. Like, it's too much.
Depending on where you are.
Yeah.
But even if we're not getting taxed to death, the problem is like, let's say even if they reduce taxes by 5% tomorrow, the problem is whatever amount we're paying, we're not seeing a return for it.
Well, I mean, I think, we were having this conversation a while ago, but, you work, you get taxed, state and federal. And you go to the store and you get taxed on that again.
Yeah. Sales tax.
Yeah. So why?
Well, and then don't forget that when you buy something from that store then also pays
tax, right?
Income tax.
Yeah.
And then also payroll tax for their employees. And when that employee gets their check, they got to pay state and federal income tax. Every dollar is literally taxed into nothing.
By
the end of the cycle, probably a couple of cycles, but it's literally just chipped away at until it's infinitely smaller. And then you
keep paying tax, and at the end of the year when you file, you still owe more money.
Depending on how you're doing and what
it's ridiculous.
Write-offs are, yeah. So this is the point so we pay taxes, and our tax money for some reason goes to fund foreign countries, bullshit in foreign countries. Like if I take my phone out right now and read to you some of the, you know what, let's do it. I'm just going to look at some of the latest things and I haven't really looked at this, so I haven't looked at it in a few days, but I'm curious to see what they have found and cut out. So we're on their official X account. Let's see. A $4 million grant to provide materials to increase workforce diversity in the construction materials sector. I don't. So that's part of something else that was actually cut out. And I'm sorry, the whole workforce diversity to me, I get it. There should be diversity. People should get a chance, but the chance should be based on merit. Like, I don't think that just because a workplace has 10 people, we need to have 2 white people, 2 black people, 2 Hispanics, 2 Asians, and 2 gay people. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, this whole idea of equity, I don't agree with. Equality is great. If 2 candidates are equal, then nobody should be discriminated against. But
Well, in general, no one should be discriminated against.
well, no, but I mean, in the hiring process,
Right.
you shouldn't get any discrimination because, race, gender, or whatever.
Yeah, you hire on
On merit.
merit and how, their qualifications.
But this equity thing is different than equality. Equity basically says if you have X number of employees, then X number of them should be of this race,
Right.
or this gender. But it forces the employer to hire people who may not be as qualified, which is like, come on, like, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, I want to look at a couple of these. So, okay, so this one's kind of interesting. In 2020 and 21, the SBA, the Small Business Administration, issued 3,095 loans, including PPP loans, for $333 million to borrowers. So $333 million of loans were issued to borrowers that were over 115 years old who were still marked as alive in the Social Security database.
How are we not auditing this?
We are now. That's
We are
the thing.
now,
And
right?
we are.
But like, how did we not do this before?
But see, this is the thing too, is if this guy never stepped in to do this, nobody would look at it. It would just disappear. And all this, like, and look, I don't care if it's a politician, my next door neighbor, or whoever. If people are stealing from the United States government, they're stealing from the taxpayer. This is money that's coming out of our pockets.
There must be another reason why the general public is upset that this is happening, and I'd love to do some research on that. And if there's anyone that can provide some comments on that, great.
Oh God, you're gonna get the craziest fucking.
I just want to know. I don't know. I haven't done a lot of research on this.
But I would
it's
like
really
to hear
interesting for me to find out the other side. Right.
I would like to hear the perspective. Like, what is it that you're so against?
Right.
Why would you be against somebody?
Is there certain policies that we are funding that are positive that he's taking away? Like, I want to know that.
I'm sure there are, and
I'm sure
he's admitted to it. He said we're gonna make mistakes, and we're gonna work quick to correct those mistakes, because there's gonna be things that are gonna be cut that maybe were part of. Hey, we cut out this block of spending on whatever number of items, and in that one block, 1 or 2 or 3 of those line items may have incorrectly been canceled, and they might have been like something that was legitimate. And he said we're gonna make mistakes. Because the problem is they're looking through so much right now, and not just so much, but it's the sheer number of transactions. It's like I can't remember the exact number, but it's like millions of transactions.
Do you know how far they're going back? How far they're auditing back?
I think some of the stuff they said was going back to, like, they had cumulative amounts going back to 2016.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I think they're probably looking at the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And so, obviously anything that's beyond that is kind of, it's a wash at this point. But they're trying to, what they're really trying to do is they're trying to cut out spending, because, okay, here's the problem. The United States today, with the United States national debt, the interest on our debt alone, just the interest, is, I think, over $1 trillion. At this rate, and we're still in a negative GDP. So, like, we're not negative GDP. We're in a deficit as far as the budget goes. So our GDP is negative versus our budget. At this rate, the only thing that can happen is the debt grows and eventually bankruptcy. If this was like a company versus a government, there's no way this company would still be around. This company would have been gone decades ago. So the problem is that what we're trying to do now, or what he's trying to do, is they're trying to trim the spending so that we can actually see a surplus, a budget surplus, to where we can start paying down the national debt, versus just going into more and more debt. Which
and educate me on this if I'm incorrect, but
I probably don't know it either.
the more money we print, the more in debt we are, correct?
Yes, and that debt is essentially paid for by the taxpayer.
Exactly.
So,
But then because we're in more debt because we're printing more money, that also affects our taxes and our and inflation,
yeah.
right? So it's kind of like a cycle.
Yeah, so the more money we print, the less the dollar is worth.
Exactly.
The more expensive things become. The more we're going to also have to pay, and not just for our goods, but also in taxes, because at some point we got to make up that money that's being spent.
So I think maybe people can look at it as a whole, instead of just people trying to get rid of certain things that they don't want to pay for anymore.
47% of the country is not going to look at it that way. And I will tell you exactly why. Because this is happening under Donald Trump. This is exactly why. I think this is the reason why Elon Musk is so hated right now. It has a couple of years ago, he was a freaking hero. He's, oh, look at Tesla and the electric cars, and we're going green, and he's going to save the planet because we're, SpaceX and whatever, or he's going to save humanity because we're going to populate Mars. And now all of a sudden he has literally become the Antichrist, and it's because he's aligned himself with Donald Trump, and that's all.
And I mean, he knew that though, because Trump is a very disliked man. Yeah,
but at the same time, is what Elon Musk is doing has nothing to do with anything other than just cutting government spending.
But again, he's doing it under a different president.
I would have loved to seen what would have happened if Elon Musk started doing this under a different president, just anybody else. It could have been Obama. It could have been Clinton. It could have been George W. Bush. It could have been, name it. Under anybody else, they would have said, oh, look, Elon Musk is saving the country again.
You never know. I mean, this is just a situation that he's in right now, and he's still trying to push for it. So
I don't know. I think what he's doing is great, though, honestly, because at the end of the day, what's going to end up happening is if we do save enough in spending, and I mean, if we do cut enough of our spending, we, not just start bringing the country out of debt, but also B, we stop the corruption. We stop the bullshit that's going on with people stealing and writing checks to their friends and, getting kickbacks and all this bullshit.
I'm just honestly surprised that this wasn't happening in the past. It
should have been happening.
You know that companies do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
For themselves.
Yeah.
Every year, every quarter, whatever it is that they do, they make sure that they audit their finances.
Yeah.
And how they're spending their money. So why shouldn't this be done for the country? This
country for the last probably 50 or 60 years has been a drunk, college-age, spoiled girl or guy, for that matter, on a shopping spree with daddy's credit card that never had to pay the bill themselves. This is exactly what it's been. It's been a shopping spree. Like certain things just don't make sense to me. Like, why are we paying for, what was it like? I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was like $40 million for an Iraqi version of Sesame Street. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing spending? First of all,
maybe they don't have the funds to do that for their kids. I don't know.
That's great. But first and foremost, I can film a TV show for a lot less than $40 million.
I don't know how much that stuff costs, so I'm not sure.
So I don't care what it costs. All I know is that for $40 million, especially if we're giving somebody the money, why are we giving them the premium amount of money? You know what I mean? It's like, if you want to have this crazy production and you want to build a whole studio and whatever, yeah, you could do this for $40 million. But if you tell these people, hey, we'll give you $1 million, go buy yourselves a couple of cameras and rent a fucking warehouse and make it work, they would have done that. But that's the thing, is I don't think this money's actually going to stuff like this.
Right.
I think this money is to shut people up in foreign governments or to get them on our side. And I think it's snowballed out of control to where now it's probably so well known that this is what we do, that every country is probably coming to us going, hey, I'm going to out you unless you kick us down with, $300 million for our new stadium or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's where we've gone. I think think that the only people that didn't know that this is going on is Americans.
I agree. I had no idea.
Nobody did.
Yeah, so.
But I think that this is how bad it is. I think that every other country was well aware that the United States was handing out money left and right other than us.
I don't even think their people knew that they were getting that much money, I think.
No,
I don't know what they were using
the governments do. The
governments, yes, but not their people.
But their people, yeah, because here's the other thing too, is you're the dictator of some or questionable leader of some small country. And the United States government just said, hey, we're going to give you $50 million to do whatever, build a hospital. You're going to be like, oh, thanks so much. $50 million in your pocket. Who's going to know?
Yeah.
They didn't announce it to the citizens.
They're not going to.
Of course they're not. All of it is very questionable. All of it makes you really wonder what's really going on, who's involved. Because this is not a 1, 2, 3 person thing. There's thousands and thousands of people involved.
Did they mention what the timeline is on getting this completed or anything? Or just going to be an ongoing process throughout?
I think it's going to be an ongoing thing. Because they started with USAID. They started looking at the Social Security. When they started looking at the Social Security payments or the system,
I think you told me
there were
about
people that were hundreds of years old that were still listed as.
Wait, didn't you say there was like someone like 300 years old? That
Yeah, there was like one person that was like 350 years old. I'm like, dude's older than the country.
That's a lucky person.
The guy is older than the country, but he's still somehow in our database.
Oh my gosh.
And so the funny thing is like people have tried to explain it away. Like, oh no, but it's the old programming language that they use, and it defaults to a certain year when you don't put in a value. I'm like, okay, that would make sense. Other than the fact that not everybody. So it's something like, I think it's like 30, 40 million people that are over the age of 120.
You don't look into this with that many people?
But here's the thing is like, so somebody's trying to say, well, if you don't put in a value, then it reverts back to some whatever random year. I'm like, that'd be great if all of these people were supposedly the same age, but they're not. They're varying ages from like 120 all the way up to, like I said, 350 years old. So that doesn't logically make sense to me. If this programming language just reverts back to a certain age, all those people would have been grouped into 1 year.
Yeah.
So I call bullshit on that one too.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me either.
Oh my God, the hate comments on this video are going to be so good. I cannot wait. See, and that's the funny thing too, is when you start speaking about something like this, the funny thing is even if you make a logical argument on it, even if you say, okay, this is why I think that's wrong, like what I just said about this programming language thing, you're going to get people that are going to say, what would you know about this? Or whatever, blah, 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 right? And the funny thing is they have no valid argument, no valid counter argument. So they're just going to sit there and try to berate you and call you an idiot and will probably be called maggots and whatever. And, you know, great. But if you have no argument, then how are you going to tell me that I'm wrong?
But that's the thing. I'm genuinely curious to find out why like certain people are against saving money and doing this audit. Like, I'm genuinely curious because.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like at the end of the day, like they said that they're actually thinking about doing basically like dividend checks, basically with the money that they're saving from all this bullshit spending, they want to give back to the citizens, right? And the funny thing is the whole craziness, this whole anti-Musk craziness kind of started dying down once that idea started floating, because all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, well, maybe
I'm getting a paycheck.
Maybe if he finds more, we get more back, you know? But yeah, that's the only way people understand how this works, and the only reason that the only way people will understand how this works is when they start seeing it affect them directly. Because for some reason or another, people, the vast majority, and I blame schools, because schools honestly do a shit job at this, and probably on purpose. People don't realize where government spending comes from. You have people that literally sit there, and I've seen interviews with people who said college should be free, the government should pay for it. And she was a college age girl, so a college educated girl. And when she was asked where are we supposed to get the money, she said, we have it, the government has it. where do you think that money comes from? That money doesn't fall out of the fucking sky. Like, that is tax money that we pay. And the whole idea of like, we'll just print more. Well, every time you print more, you're just basically at some point or another, our taxes will need to go up every time you print money.
Yeah. So
if you want to keep paying through the fucking nose to a point where we're end up having to pay 70% of our paychecks just to cover the freaking debt service on this country, then be my guest. Let's keep spending and sending money overseas. But at a certain point in time, I think that the United States should start worrying about itself.
I'd like my student loans paid off.
Yeah, a lot of people would like a lot of loans paid off, but at the end of the day, it's like you can't just,
I know.
you know, and that's the funny thing. We've had this discussion. It's like when they started talking about they're going to pay off student loans, even you with student debt said that's kind of a stupid idea because how are we supposed to, like, that's just going to increase what we pay in taxes or just increase the liability down the line.
I would like that, but I know the outcome of it.
Yeah, you can't just erase debt.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't get erased. I think this is what a lot of people fail.
I think also another thing, and this is probably a different conversation, but schools should not be charging that much money to
You know why schools charge
get
that
a
much
degree.
money? Schools charge that much money because a lot of tuition is subsidized by government. So they can.
Yeah.
And not to mention, school is the only thing that an 18-year-old fresh out of high school with no job can get $100,000 loan for.
That's true.
Try to get $100,000 loan for anything else as an 18-year-old with no job and no credit. There's no chance in hell.
Yeah.
But you got to remember that every time a bank gives out a loan, whether it's a private bank or, you know, some kind of, now these government loans are because the bullshit lenders back in the day defaulted and the government took them over. But so a lender giving you a loan, what was I saying? There you go. I lost my train of thought. There's a spicy water. The student, the student loans were so easy to get, right? All these lenders were like, oh yeah, sure, we'll give out these loans for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And as the amounts kept going up, the lenders never stopped. The lenders were not like, hey, no, you can't get a loan for more than $40,000.
But yes, but then the interest rates on these loans,
it depends,
are so high.
It depends. But yeah, the way that they're set up, they're basically mortgages.
Yeah,
a lot of them.
Absolutely.
But either way, though, it's that's part of it. The other part of it is that we're with open arms accepting foreign students, and we're accepting them for some reason at a lower rate. Like if you look at,
I think to give them an opportunity.
That's fine, but like here's the thing: is like, for example, why let them pay a lower rate? Like even in California, right? As a resident of California, if you're going to go to a UC school, for example, down here or CSU, your tuition as a resident is more expensive than a non-resident from Nevada. Like, why does that make sense?
I'd also like to know the meaning behind that too. Just curious.
It makes no sense. Why would you do that?
I think maybe because, again, they don't have the same opportunities we do. They don't have the funds that we do. And yes, it doesn't make sense, but I think maybe that's the meaning behind it, to give them a little bit of a push to have those same opportunities.
I get the whole thing about opportunity, but at the same time, so this also ties back in with government spending, right? And foreign aid. It's like, well, if we're helping these other countries so much, these less fortunate countries, if we're helping them so much, why aren't they opening their own universities? Or why aren't they fixing their countries so that there is more opportunity?
That's something that they should have been doing already and
especially considering we're paying for this stuff. Like, so I feel like the excuse isn't there anymore. Like it was at some point, and they keep using it as hey, we don't have the opportunities, so, you know, the United States has to help us out. How much help can we possibly give? We are literally borrowing money to help other countries at this point. Like, that's fucking insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's me borrowing money from somebody on the street to pay for somebody else, or, you know, whatever. Borrowing money from one person to help another person. It's like, let that other person just borrow straight from you. Like, why are we borrowing?
Yeah.
We're borrowing money from China to pay for Brazil. Like, what the fuck? Why are we doing that? It makes no sense.
It doesn't. And I'd like to know why.
You'll never get the
But
answer.
I know.
Because the problem is that the answer...
Wishful thinking.
No, and that's the thing, is I think that the answer unravels a whole web of corruption.
Of course.
I think that's the problem.
I don't think it's naive to say that governments are not corrupt. They are. There's
to some
those-
level, but
you know,
there has been so much corruption in the last whatever number of years. And see, that's the thing, is this is not something, I don't think this is something that's been going on for 100 years. I think this is only in the last 50. To know that there's that much corruption in the last 50 years and that there's been this much bullshit spending that's been happening.
well, also, you know, that could be the case because that information is so available to us now. We see the corruption, right? We see the mistakes, and it's so readily available for us to view.
Yeah, maybe.
We don't know what happened 50 years ago, 60 years ago,
100 years ago. Yeah.
We don't know because we're not exposed to that. There aren't videos of it. You know, we can't watch
Yeah.
what happened.
But don't you think that back then people were just a little more what's the word? They're just a little more honest? Like just
I think maybe that's what's portrayed now. I don't know because I wasn't there, but I think that's maybe what was portrayed, and that's what we're trying to think of it as because that's what we've seen on media.
Yeah.
But people are people. People are dishonest. People are honest. People are good. People are bad.
No, I get that. But I think as time goes, and I think as, you know, it becomes harder to survive financially, you know, like it's a fact. 50 years ago, things were easier.
Of course. I mean, our parents have said the same thing. It was,
Yeah.
You know, 30, 40 years ago, it was a lot easier to buy a house.
Well, and that's the
than
thing.
now.
Is you go back 50 years and somebody that worked as a cashier in a grocery store was able to buy a house and raise a family.
Yeah, absolutely.
On that salary, you know? So clearly things have gotten harder, but that's my point is as things get harder, you're going to get more corruption. You're going to get more theft. You're going to get more just whatever. People start doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
And so I think it wasn't as widespread back then as it is today.
Possibly. You're possibly right on that one.
I think that it's just progressively getting worse every couple of years. I mean, look at where we are today versus 5 years ago in terms of just the cost of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you saw that one guy on it was on TikTok, probably posted on Instagram too. He had gone to Walmart.com and was looking at his previous orders from 2020.
I saw that.
Yeah. Where he literally added the same exact, he just hit the reorder button.
Yeah.
And it came out to be like
Double the price or something like that.
it was like 30% more or some stupid shit like that. And this was.
But here's the thing, though, we're not making that much more money now. We're still
nobody's making 30% more than they were.
Absolutely not. We get what 1 to 4% raise every year, if that.
Yeah.
If they decide that they're doing well and they want to give you a raise, you know, and people are struggling.
I saw a video today of this girl who literally got fired the second day of her job.
I saw that. I was angry for her, honestly.
But honestly, she's probably going to be able to sue and win.
I'm sure, and she absolutely should.
Because the whole thing is the fact that they played her like that. You know, she might have turned down another job opportunity somewhere, like,
or she left another job for this one.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That is
and the
terrible.
funny thing is she even says, like, the HR girl that's talking to her says something like,
we wanted to wait.
We've been thinking about this.
We wanted to, you know, onboard you, and then we were, you know,
so they knew they weren't
exactly, but they still decided to hire her. I don't know if she left in their job for this or put, you know, other jobs to the side, but you literally let go of someone after 2 days.
That is beyond.
I was pissed off for her.
So,
like, I wanted to yell at that person on the other screen. Like, how dare you?
They'll definitely get what's coming to them.
Oh, I hope
especially
so.
after it blew up on social media.
I hope so.
There's probably 50 lawyers in her inbox right now going, hey.
Or when companies say we're not doing well and we're gonna, you know, downsize your bonuses.
Well,
Like,
this is basically what's happening with the government too, though, right now. is the government's literally sitting there going, well, we got to raise taxes to pay for X, Y, and Z. Meanwhile, they won't cut the bloated spending that they have going on every year.
Like, figure this shit out.
Yeah.
Like, figure it out so we can actually live comfortably. Like, the way, 10 years ago, it wasn't like this.
10 years ago was, like, prices were insanely cheap compared to today.
I mean, I wouldn't say cheap, but like a lot less. Like we were
compared to today.
We were more comfortable, like
everybody was. It's how a lot of people say I make more money now than I ever have before, and I'm struggling more than ever.
Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with the dollar amount you're making. It has to do with the cost of everything.
Absolutely.
I mean, what are we at right now? Gas is $5 a gallon out here.
I saw it a few days ago, almost $6.
Yeah.
It went up to almost $6.
So that helps.
Yeah.
And then people will tell you, well, just don't drive or go buy an electric car. Like, how about go fuck yourself, Karen? Like, not everybody can afford to go buy a $50,000 car.
Yeah.
And then go sit somewhere fucking 3 days, three times out of the week.
Yeah. And people don't have those
And
charges in their homes. A lot of
That's what
people
I'm
live in
saying.
apartments who don't have that option.
And then you got to go sit somewhere and wait in line and then plug it in and then pay for the charging. And then it's like you spent 3 hours.
Yeah.
And
I would absolutely want an electric car. If we had an option where we lived, and if lines weren't absurd whenever you'd go to one of the dealers or wherever the charging stations.
But see, that's the other problem with electric cars, and this is why the more I read and the more I see about them, this is one of the reasons I wouldn't buy one is they're very software based. So, for example, like if you get in a mild accident in a Tesla, right? You take it to Tesla for repair. And Tesla says, oh, you know what? There's structural damage on the body. We are no longer going to allow you to supercharge this car. So now you can only charge it at a regular charging station.
That's
at
just
the slow
inconvenient.
rate. And they have the power to do that. And they could basically take it off of the system or take it, they go in the software and they fuck with it. And they can shut it down. They can do whatever they want with it. So like at any point, they could be like, hey, you know what? You haven't done X, Y, and Z. So we're just shutting your car down. You can't drive it.
No, good for the environment. Highly inconvenient.
But that good for the environment thing is half bullshit anyway. Because realistically, lithium batteries are not great for the environment. Neither is all the mining that has to take place.
I don't know any of these things. You're the genius.
Cobalt
when it comes to these things.
Cobalt is one of the minerals that's required to build these EV batteries. I think it's like 60 or 70% of the world's cobalt comes out of South Africa.
Okay.
By literal child slave labor.
That's not good.
No, it's not good at all. And people are running around, saying, oh, yeah, I drive an EV to save the planet. Well, what about the fucking kids that are being whipped to death working in mines so that you can buy your fucking EV?
Yeah, that's so sad.
And then what are you doing with your EV batteries once you're done with your car and you're sick of it and you want to buy the next newest one? What's happening to that EV battery? At some point in time, it's ending up in some fucking warehouse or recycling center. Like there was one in France, I think it was like last year, a lithium battery recycling center that caught fire.
Wow.
A fucking insane fire, thick black smoke everywhere. They can't put it out. You can't put out a lithium fire. It just sits there and burns. You just have to wait it out.
And how long does it typically take to burn out?
Depends how much lithium there's.
Wow. And we don't see, I don't know this information. And I feel like a lot of people don't.
Most people don't.
Because it's not, it's not.
So this is my point, though, is people need to educate themselves before jumping to conclusions. And this goes right along with
I think that's the most important take from this.
That's what I was saying at the very beginning of this is like people are talking about things not knowing what they're talking about, but they're parroting some bullshit from some politician. And because he's on or she is on one party or the other, it's like, dude, not every politicians don't have your fucking best interest in mind.
Yeah.
Let's just remember one thing about politicians. I got to say this. For example, I think a senator makes $170,000 a year, right? Explain to me why any sane individual would fundraise and campaign and spend millions of dollars of money to run for a position that pays $170,000 a year. because clearly they don't give a fuck about people or the job.
I mean, look at the houses they buy and the cars they drive.
It's insane.
You can't do all that stuff on
There's no way.
$170,000
There's no way.
a year.
$170,000 a year. It's like, okay, you're doing good. You're doing all right.
Depending on where you are. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you're okay. In California, you're like, it's okay.
But I mean, the thing is they're buying mansions.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, my husband just happens to be really good at trading stock. Like, fuck you, Nancy. No, he's not. That's insider trading. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it. And there's not a damn thing we could do about it.
I guess the takeaway is just do your research and educate yourself and really look into something before you decide to kind of hide away from it, right?
Or jump on a bandwagon.
Jump into a certain conclusion. So
that's the biggest thing is a lot of people today will jump onto a bandwagon because they're friends or they see some influencers or whatever talk about it, and that's their opinion, and so they jump on that bandwagon. Mm-hmm. But realistically, everybody should do their own research.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the biggest issues we have and we have had for the last 10 years, especially with social media, because a lot of people will just spout off a bunch of bullshit on social media. And me personally, if I see something or I read something or somebody says something on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, I will have to go and independently verify that.
Yeah.
I will go and look.
I know you do that.
And well, the thing is I'll make sure that I'm getting, if that is a news story, I want to make sure that I'm seeing it on both left wing and right wing media.
Right. Because
then that means it's real. But if I'm only seeing it on two websites, that means it's probably a bullshit story that somebody made up for attention. And there's been quite a few like that.
Yeah.
And on both sides, nobody's immune from this shit. So I think if people were to actually take the time, do a little bit of research, read for themselves, look things up, stop believing everything that people say. Like, not your friends are not fucking, financial advisors or experts in government macroeconomics.
Just do your own research.
You know what I mean? It's like you have people that are just spouting out. Even the shit that I just said, I could be full of shit too. Go research it. Go look up this stuff yourself, because at the end of the day, you don't know me and you don't know if I'm being honest. Yeah. I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. I'm just telling you what I've seen. But the thing is I don't read some shit that I've seen from one source or some bullshit video. This is stuff that I get from either the official source or from multiple sources. So I'm not going to sit here and, make up a bunch of shit just to get views, because it's not like we have more than like 30 fucking followers anyway. So who gives a shit? Yeah. How long has it been? Yeah. Are we done? Are we calling it?
I think till next time.
All right. We'll call it. If you did make it this far, would appreciate a follow, maybe share this with a few friends. Podcasting is not easy.
It's not.
Especially when you're doing a video podcast, there's a lot of editing. The amount of editing and getting short clips and setting up and breaking down, because we don't have a studio. Oh, fuck.
You're doing a really great job.
We're doing a lot of work for practically nobody.
One day
it kind of
worth
sucks. It's kind of drop a single tear.
Please like, share, tell your friends.
I'm just hoping that we get get a couple more viewers, a little bit more engagement, a little bit more, just seeing that what we're doing and all the effort is getting to somebody, that somebody's taking something away from it.
Right.
Whether it's they're getting a laugh out of it or whether they're getting knowledge, just something.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. A lot of that was ranting. I apologize. But till next time.
Ciao.